Eliza Ellie Thorne breathed on the glass, blurring the bright lights of nighttime Manhattan. Her reflection, a severe black dress, chestnut hair pulled into a tight bun, seemed alien to her. Tonight was her triumph. The presentation of the new, revolutionary cybersecurity software she had been developing for 2 years. It was supposed to make her company invulnerable and cement her name in the world of high-tech forever. But instead of the thrill of victory, her heart was clenched by a heavy, familiar dread. He was the reason. Logan Mitchell. Logan stood in the center of the hall, surrounded by a crowd of admiring investors and journalists. His navy blue suit fit him impeccably, and his eyes held that dangerous mix of wit and audacity that had once driven her mad. He was the very embodiment of success, a Silicon Valley wunderkind who had turned a startup into a multi-billion-dollar empire. And her ex-boyfriend. The one who had broken her heart 3 years ago, vanishing without a trace after a stormy, passionate romance. And now he was back. Not just back, but having bought a major stake in her company. And now he stood here, with a glass of champagne, catching her gaze across the crowd. His smile was a challenge. Ellie turned away sharply and almost collided with a solid chest in an impeccably ironed shirt. "Sorry, She began and froze. No harm done, the voice was calm and deep, like a calm ocean. "You must be Miss Thorne." "Luke Harrison." He extended his hand, and his handshake was firm and reliable. Luke Harrison. Head of his own private military contracting company, former Navy SEAL, a hero whose face had been in the news more than once. And the main investor of her project. It was his money and his connections that had allowed her to bring her vision to life. Luke was the complete opposite of Logan. Where Logan was fire and impulse, Luke was granite and steel. His gray eyes radiated not danger, but incredible confidence and a sense of security. "Congratulations on your success," Luke said, his gaze sweeping over her face, lingering on her eyes. "You've revolutionized the field. And you seem to be the only person in this room who looks like they're preparing for an execution." Ellie laughed nervously. "It's just a lot of stress." "Then allow me to offer you some anti-stress." He gently took her by the elbow and led her towards the buffet table, away from the crowd. "In the form of caviar canapes. Or a conversation about something not related to work." She felt the tension slowly begin to ebb. Being with Luke was safe. Over the past 6 months, their business relationship had gradually evolved into something more. Dinners after meetings, joint morning runs in Central Park. He was a gentleman of the old school, and Ellie felt her heart beginning to thaw after years spent behind high walls. It was at that moment that Logan appeared beside them. "Eliza," his voice was like velvet, charged with electricity. "Running from your own success? Or from me?" Luke straightened up, his posture becoming slightly tense, like a guard dog's. "Mitchell," he nodded coldly. "Harrison," Logan smiled, but the smile didn't reach his eyes. "Am I interrupting?" "Undoubtedly, you are," Luke parried. An awkward pause hung in the air. The atmosphere between the three people thickened, as if before a thunderstorm. "I need to discuss a technical nuance of your software with Ellie," Logan persisted. "Concerning vulnerabilities. I think it will be interesting for you too, Harrison, since your people will be using it." Ellie felt a stab of fear. Vulnerabilities? In her flawless code? She met Luke's gaze, which was questioning. "Of course, Logan," she said, trying to keep her voice from trembling. "We can talk in my office. In 15 minutes. Logan shot Luke a triumphant look and melted into the crowd. "Are you all right?" Luke asked quietly. "If he's bothering you." "No, it's fine," Ellie put her hand on his sleeve, feeling the hard muscles beneath the fabric. "It's just business." But she didn't believe it herself. Ellie's office was on the 40th floor, behind a glass wall overlooking the night city. The air was filled with the quiet hum of the metropolis. Logan entered without knocking. I like your bodyguard, he began, closing the door behind him. A real macho man. Does he know your heart only beats faster when you're breaching some Pentagon firewall? Or when you're risking everything? Why are you here, Logan? Ellie crossed her arms over her chest, trying to create some sort of defense. And what vulnerabilities? He moved close to her, invading her personal space. He smelled of expensive whiskey and danger. I'm not talking about the code, Ellie. I'm talking about you. You're building a fortress to hide from the world. From yourself. From us. There's nothing left of us, Logan. You made sure of that when you disappeared. I had no choice. For the first time, sincerity rang in his voice. I was recruited. The NSA. A covert op. I couldn't tell you a word. One wrong move, and... He didn't finish, but Ellie understood. The chatter of code names, government secrets, all of it was part of Logan's world. You could have let me know you were alive. She exhaled, feeling old wounds ache with renewed force. And would you have waited? He softly touched her cheek. She didn't pull away. His touch was like an electric shock, awakening everything she had tried to bury. The mad passion, the late-night talks until dawn, the feeling that with him she could do anything. At that moment, the door opened. Luke stood on the threshold. His face was stony, but a storm was raging in his eyes. He had seen Logan touching her face. He had seen that she wasn't resisting. Excuse the interruption, Luke's voice was icy. Ellie, we have a dinner planned. Unless, of course, you're free. She was torn between the two men, between two lives. The past, alluring with its brightness and pain, and the future, promising stability and peace. Logan, without taking his eyes off her, said. Choose, Eliza. A safe harbor or the stormy sea. But remember, it's only in a storm that you learn what your ship is truly capable of. Luke stepped forward. She's already made her choice. Or am I mistaken? His gaze was full of a silent question and hope. Ellie looked at Luke, strong, reliable, honest. Then at Logan. The air in the office became thick and syrupy. Luke's words hung between them as a direct challenge. She's already made her choice. Or am I mistaken? Ellie felt the ground disappearing from under her feet. She was standing on the edge of a razor, and one wrong move threatened bleeding. Luke's gaze was probing and wounded. Logan's gaze was insistent and full of the promise of old, mad freedom. Safe harbor or the stormy sea, no, Luke, you're not mistaken, she finally exhaled, breaking eye contact with Logan. She took a step towards Luke, feeling her heart pounding wildly. Dinner. Of course. Let's get out of here. A slight smile touched Luke's lips but didn't reach his eyes. He nodded, his posture becoming rigid and professional again. He extended his hand, not to take her elbow, but in a gesture pointing towards the door. It was the gesture of a gentleman, but also the gesture of a man asserting his claim. Passing by Logan, Ellie felt a wave of his bitterness and disappointment scorch her skin. See you soon, Eliza, he said quietly, and it sounded not like a goodbye, but a prediction. Pirates always find their harbor. Dinner at the elegant Italian restaurant was supposed to be romantic. Soft lighting, candles, quiet music. But tension hung between them like the ghost of a third person. He's not right for you, Ellie, Luke finally broke the silence, pushing away his plate with unfinished pasta. He's chaos. Chaos that will burn you and your business to the ground. I've seen his kind. Brilliant, irresistible, and completely irresponsible. I know who he is, Luke, Ellie responded, playing with her fork. I know him better than you can imagine. And I'm not the naive girl I was 3 years ago. It's not about you. It's about him. He sees you as a prize. A toy he once threw away and now wants back because someone else likes it. His words hit their mark. Deep down, she was afraid of that herself. "And what do you see?" she asked, looking him straight in the eyes. "The future," he answered without a hint of doubt. "I see a strong, brilliant woman with whom I want to build something solid. Not a game of cat and mouse. Not an emotional roller coaster. A partnership. A team." He placed his large, strong hand over hers. His touch was warm and stable. So predictable. So safe. And at that moment, she realized with horror that the word safe had begun to sound in her head like a synonym for boring. His phone vibrated. Luke glanced at the screen, and his face became serious. "Sorry, it's urgent. I need to take this." He walked away towards the exit, and Ellie was left alone with her thoughts and a half-finished glass of red wine. Her own phone lay nearby on the table. It was silent. But she knew it wouldn't last. And she was right. A minute later, the screen lit up. Not a call. A message. An unknown number. But she knew who it was from. Cerberus code. Remember? The one we wrote that rainy night in Seattle. Your invulnerable system has the same architecture. And it has the same weak spot. Someone has already found it. Not Harrison with his soldiers. Someone worse. If you want to save your brainchild, you'll need a hacker, not a soldier. I'll be waiting at our place. 1 hour. Don't keep me waiting. Ellie went cold. The Cerberus code, it was their secret, their inside joke, a protocol they had devised together one sleepless night. No one, absolutely no one in the world, could know about this vulnerability except the two of them. This wasn't a game. It was a cry for help, disguised as an ultimatum. Her company, her reputation, everything she had built without Logan, was under threat. She saw Luke returning to the room, his face back to its usual calm expression. "Everything all right?" he asked, sitting down. "Yes," she lied, feeling a lump in her throat. "Just tired. Big day. Then I'll drive you home." On the way to her apartment, she was silent, watching the flashing lights but seeing only lines of code and Logan's mocking face. He wasn't lying. She felt it in her gut. Someone was hunting for her invention. And Logan was the only person who understood both her and the potential enemy on the same level. Luke stopped the car at her building. He leaned in to kiss her on the cheek, but she instinctively turned away, pretending to look for something in her purse. "Thank you for dinner, Luke," she said, trying to keep her voice from shaking. "And for everything." "Anytime, Ellie." He looked slightly puzzled but attributed her behavior to fatigue. "Meeting tomorrow at 10? "Yes, of course. See you tomorrow." She got out of the car and, without looking back, entered the building. Her heart was pounding like crazy. She stepped into the elevator, and only when the doors closed did she lean against the wall, closing her eyes. Our place, the old loft in the industrial district of Brooklyn where they had once worked on their first joint project. The place where she had last been truly happy. Back in her apartment, she took off her evening dress in one motion and put on dark jeans, a t-shirt, and a leather jacket. She looked at her reflection in the hallway mirror. The polished businesswoman was gone. In her place stood the rebellious girl she had been 3 years ago. She took a stripped-down laptop and a clean phone, not tied to her name, from the safe. One last look at the quiet, orderly apartment, which suddenly felt like a gilded cage. She opened the window to the fire escape. The air outside was cold and bitter.